Okay, hello. It's a lot of time I'm not doing any presentation, so please be kind. I know you are, but it's really interesting. Okay, so I'm going to speak about semi-global, semi-global, and multi-trading, because it's just that between globals and semi-globals, you have just 4 character differences, but for some of people, that makes that globals are, wow, really good things, and their semi-global are root of all evil. But, when you start writing code, you say, okay, I will use functions, so I will have all the things I want to pass as argument, all the things I need in the workspace as a result, and everyone will be local inside the function. But after sometimes you have a request, and you have to decide if you have to rewrite the functions, and because you need to manage one or more cases, and it will require to have one more argument or another result. And so at some point you decide that you will follow the evil path, and you will use a semi-global or a global that for your function will be a semi-global. So that's not bad. It's there. You can use it. The problem with semi-global is that you discover you manage them wrongly when you see this, or this. That makes the difference between managing things and have to cope with things. And that's the problem usually with semi-globals. That's what happened to me in Sofia, in SimCorp Sofia, when we needed to add a new feature to our program. I don't know, but I hope some of you already knows. Sofia is an asset management software. For me, it's a girl because also its character, its temperament is like a woman. So I refer to her as she. I don't want her to get angry to me. She does a lot of things, and at some point, 20, 25 years ago, front office and the order register was added to the module we have in Sofia. Sofia was not at the time, and is not now, a trading software, so we are not connected to the markets, but we have customer that goes on the markets and buy, sell things. Since in Sofia they have all the information, they want to perform checks, like, do I have enough money to buy this thing? That would be interesting. So what they started doing when we added the front office module was to pre-input the orders into Sofia. Then, it was 25 years ago, call traders and having them executed in the market. Then go back and put the result into Sofia. After some time, they started using it because they were created electronic platform. So, since also the volume were increased, they said, but wouldn't it be possible to send the order directly from Sofia to the electronic platform? And you can imagine that were just one answer possible. At the time, I was in the company by 2 years, not more. And Carlo Alberto, I think most of you know, but Carlo Alberto told me, why don't you do it? Okay, I don't know anything about the order register, but it's okay. Tell me what I have to do. I will do it. And they say, oh, no, we will build something new. We will have a new environment that will search into Sofia if there is something to export, receive feedbacks, execution, and then do other things in Freecart, and then register everything in Sofia as soon as they came. Real time is not a problem. Sofia is already real time. Okay, Carlo, we can do it. And so we decided to have this structure, so Sofia, or the register and the wall of Sofia, then Since we could imagine from the beginning that one platform for the customer would not be enough, to have a structure in which we had another place, the master, that will speak with Sofia, and one or more satellite will manage the connection. This way, we could decide that to have a really different communication, connection thing without have to change anything in the master. The first thing we had to do was to analyze what we had in Sofia, because we had the software used by a person, so we had a graphical interface. We had the code executed before opening the screen, code executing during the input to check if the customer was inputting a price in a price chart or using ABC to edit a price. Code executed after the input to check if all the information matched one with another. And then code executed after closing the screen. So since the first thing was, OK, we have to get rid of the graphical interface, put all the code together, mix it, so at the end, we will have just one layer that can be used by something that is a program. That's, was tricky, because in any case, we are not speaking about 1, 2 functions. It's like 10,000 lines of code. And was not easy. Also knowing where the code could be executed was not easy to spot out all the places, because that's where the code can be. But it's not a given that it's there. It is not a given that just one screen is involved or more. So we had a lot of research into Sofia, looking at code, reading code. And then we decided that, OK, let's start step by step. We will build this interface. First, we will try to make the export, because the export are always easy. You have information, you have just to export them. That can be complex, but at least you don't have to change the database. You have always only to make a bit that, OK, this is already exported, so I don't need to export it anymore. So since all the infrastructure were complicated, were really complex, we decided to go with the export. So we did the things one at the moment, one at a time. Another thing that happened is that we didn't want to build something that was different for the order register. The order register was not dead, was alive, and in the years it could be changed. So we wanted to be sure that the code we used in our environment, it's just not a copy and paste of functions, but something that was used also in the order register. So who would have managed changes in the order register didn't have to care about going also to our environment and see if it will be OK, not OK, would have a problem. So one of the things we had to do was to take functions and put part of the code in the internal function, sub-function we needed with all the arguments. So we could use that part and be sure that if some in the future would have to change how, for example, we decide if a broker can be used or not, if you had to change something here, we will inherit automatically all the changes, because the code is the same, not just a copy and paste, but we use the same function to do the same things. When we were confident that we managed the function, initialized all the variables that were in every level of the code, we tried and, OK, no, we didn't spot out all the variables. In any case, spotting out the error in this case is quite easy. The code crashes. So you have to go there. OK, what's missing? Then you have to see which are the functions that initialize and modify that function, that variable, because you just don't need to put a prototype. It has to be coherent with the rest of the environment. But it's easier than what it comes later. So after, I think, 8 months, we were happy. Oops. We went, we had the system working with just one satellite connected to Charles River. We delivered it to the customer, and the customer was really happy. And his answer was, wow, can we use also TradeWeb? Okay, thanks, really thanks. So we had to move from this to this. In theory, the only things to do was to build the new satellite. In fact, the exchanging information between master and satellite was done having a function that the satellite will call inside the master. And all the things needed by the satellite was the result that would be exported to the external platform. So argument usually was which order, there are orders I needed to export. These are the feedbacks and the execution the system, the external system, wants us to import in Sofia. The result of this process was these are the orders you have to export now. And the satellite would run just make one call at a time, and just after only after the query on a master was ended, it would do another query. So we had no problem of having more things in the master running together. With the two satellites, what was expected to happen was to have two separate threads doing the same thing. So we focused in our development in build the connection. In fact, the first satellite, it was stupid to have a real-time system that used the files, but the first configuration was to exchange information with the CRD with files. The other one required to implement a fixed connection. That is a whole other story, TCP connection, and so on, things that chat each other all the time. I'm well, you, I'm well, thank you. Something for me? No. Something for you? No. Okay. So we focused on building the second satellite, and then, okay, the satellite is ready. Let's go. But we have something like this. It took us some time to understand what was happening, because, usually you have a problem, the function, the make calculation, a software, then for the calculation, you give it the numbers, you give a result, and usually those matches. And why not? I never heard before this project about multi-trading, semi-globals. If you know Carlo Alberto, you know that he gives you no information. He says, we will learn. Okay, so after some times, he was kind, gave us some explanation of how multi-thread works, and we came up, so we forgot to localize some variable, in our thread. So they are mixing things between one thing and the other. This time we had no value error in this error, rank error, nothing. We had just strange results. So we firstly started to understand which was the variable that was being modified in both threads. And in a demo, you see function like this. Real life, you have a function but the variable can be a result that have a function as an argument and as a result. So understanding, also if you understand that, var is my problem, you have to go and look for var is localized, and A and B, and C and D, there's something else inside who or goo that is not localized, because all of them can have an impact to the result. And, you can use search or other utilities you have to find and search all the places where a variable is reassigned. But if you have 400 or more results, the noise is more. than the useful information. So we decided to go, once the analysis was done, and we were quite sure we have found which variable to look for. We have read again and again all the code. Sometimes we solved it this way, but sometimes no. So when we were reaching this point, we decided to use a more dynamic approach. Since the issue, finding the point that gave us problem, can be done also in single thread, we decided, okay, let's put ourselves in the simple situation. Just one thread. We will we will stop the execution, delete the variable, assign it as a dynamic function, and then let the code go. This way, we could spot out with a syntax error when the variable was used by the code, and then stack up, and see, ha, we found you. Sometimes it was easier to find the problem than solving it. So we had to go, because what's a cache? A cache is a real good global or semi-global SQ. So if the problem is with a cache, you're and so we had to ask, for example, Carlo to change the way, in some situation, some cache were used by the program. But at the end, it took, it didn't pop, this kind of error didn't pop up any days, because no. Usually what happened was, okay, we have a strange result. Some week, you study, you do, okay, solved. You release your changes, and after a few months, oops, there is another thing. What they did this time, and you go and investigate. So at the end, to have a really stable system that after could, at some point, it managed 4 different satellites. It took us more or less 1 year to spot and solve the last error. But at the end, it can be done. I went too fast, right? Okay, what we learned. If it's scary, never avoid new development, because you'll have to deal with a lot of old code that has to be updated, or there are things you never see before. So I've learned a lot from this project, and I have to admit that the hours we passed imagining what were happening in the workspace, so the other thread, which query is now running, perhaps it's this one, perhaps it's the other one, was really, really interesting. Because, most of the time I just work on a simple export. So this time it was really to go into things and imagine whatever could happen in the system. Because since, it's true that we have 2 threads in the master, but it's not they start at the same time. Whenever the satellite has something to do, the thread starts. So most of the time, with just 2 satellites, what we had was just 1 thread was running. This other satellite had nothing to do, so we had no problems. Instead, we had to imagine, okay, what can be done, the other thread, what if the other thread is running? What if it's run this part and not this? What if, in the meantime, something changes into Sofia? Because also we were a real-time system that had to react to events. So, for example, when some user changes an information, you have then to send to the external system. Your system is to upgrade. So it's true that we speak about 2 threads, but can be in the master, separate, doing other things all the time. So yes, it was really exciting, stressing, and exciting. Another thing that then became more usual in the whole SimCorp Sofia was to have a list of semiglobals. I love semiglobals. Also, after this task, I love them because make things, if you know the variable is there, you can use it without having to worry about it. It's really a nice thing because you can be faster. You don't have to recalculate it every time. Let's put you need in 3, 5, 6 different places. It's just there, and if you are sure it's coherent with your environment, they are really handy. So what we did was to organize a list of the semi-global. In this case, I used in the order register. So we could initialize them, have a list. So if needed, we could localize all of them in one go and have a private environment in any case. Then Sofia has different environment. You remember the previous code. So, for example, the asset information has its own list of variable that is used in the asset environment. Since in the order register we use asset information, we use also that list to localize everything. But that list is a list. So 1, 2, 3, 10 list, but in any case, it's something numerable, and you can do that easily if you have them. Yes, this is. And the last part, that is one of the things that was frustrating, but also make us feel, in any case, we are not alone, that in any case, you work in a company. Sometimes you feel scared to go around and ask for help because it's just, how am supposed to solve this by myself? If I go around and ask, they will know I'm stupid, just not suspect I am. So you sometimes stay there and look and think alone, looking at the project, looking at one, but you're not alone. And my approach was, Carlo Alberto hired me, so if I hired a stupid person, it's his fault, not mine. So we went for help, obviously not all the time, also because it required time, analysis, and work to understand what the problem was. So once the problem was clear, we could go and ask for help on how to solve, because any solution we put in this part of the code will be in the whole software, in the whole Sofia. So if we do something stupid here, can have effects that you didn't expect on other places. So better if people that knows what is going to is supposed to know what will happen, it tells you yes, no, or it's better to do it this way. You can learn more this way. And so, at the end, I still work on these things. We still have a customer with a lot of connection. They asked, for example, in a couple of months ago, we added Bloomberg to the list of the platforms we are connected to. We also have specific customer environments that, because in Italy, insurance are often linked to banks, and banks have their own platform. So for some customer, we developed the satellites that is just for them. And yeah, it works, so it's nice.
Thank you very much. That was fascinating.
Thank you.